My name is Joona Petrell. I'm the UI chief engineer in Jolla. So I work in a team who builds the Sailfish user interface. So all the applications, the system user interface, which means the home screen, different dialogues. So design is responsible for designing a user experience, and we are the team who implements it. We also work quite much on the application middleware side, but UI is kind of what we are known for. So it's not set, wait. Okay, so these were the cheat sheets I said. The material will be available in the sailfish.org. So if you don't have one, or if you want to pass it on to a friend. I'm going to go through the presentation as a live coding example, and I'm going to go it through quite quickly because half an hour is so little short amount of time. So if you have questions, please let's talk at the end of the presentation. I want to. A lot of you probably have done some Sailfish development, so I want the presentation to be trivial, just to talking about images and buttons. I want to have some substance. So, how many of you have developed Sailfish applications? Cool. So, half of you maybe. Cool. So I know a bit what kind of presentation I should have. Okay, so here I have workspace. I have a source code file called app.qml, and then I have one resource. I have a PNG file there. Then I go to my code editor, and you can see that the file is empty. I'll run the file, and you don't see anything because there isn't anything there. Sailfish is built using technology called Qt and QML. So what we first need to start with is that we import these Qt elements, which are the basic building blocks of building user interfaces. And let's make a simplest possible example. It's basically you show an image I just showed you, which is on the same folder. So now you see there's a window appeared, which is the size of the image. It's not a user interface yet, it's more like a static document. To make it a user interface, it needs to be interactive. So we can add touch area here, and let's make it as large as the image. And then, for example, we'll switch the opacity of the parent when I click it. So now when I tap the image, it will make it fully transparent or fully opaque. So whenever you do visual state changes in applications, you don't want to do this kind of abrupt visual change. You want to add nice smooth animation. So if you show some content, you slide it in. If it appears somewhere, you fade it in, fade it out. So let's add an animation here. So the transparency value will animate whenever the value changes. So now when I tap it, I get nice smooth animation like that. So the Qt provides you this kind of really basic elements like text element, image element, different graphical effects, but it has no Sailfish in it. You could build any kind of user interface. You could build a car, you could build airplane infotainment system. So this presentation is mainly about Sailfish. So if I want to do Sailfish UI development, I need to import Sailfish UI components, which we call Silica. So I here import Sailfish Silica. And all the Sailfish applications have, at the base, they have something called application window. So here you have the Jolla 1 resolution window. It could be a tablet window, it doesn't really matter. Normally Sailfish applications have wallpaper in the back, but I chose like black wallpaper so you can see the UI elements clearly. So very similar, like I showed like how you add touch handling and how you add images. I can add here a Sailfish style button and say that it should be at the center of the screen and it should say hello world. Like that. Simple. If I want to have more of them, I need to define layout. So you can see there's these anchor elements, which is basically you say that something is on the right of some element, left up at the bottom of some element, center of element. But there's also layout elements called positioners, which personally I prefer in many cases. And here I have a column, which is a basically vertical list. So I can say that I want to show 3 buttons in a vertical list, like this. So there's a row positioner, grid positioner, flow positioner. There's different kind of layouts, whether they stack horizontally, vertically in a grid. There's for different use cases. So for example, if I want to stack UI components horizontally, I use row. And maybe try a bit different component this time. So let's try an icon button. So the previous one was like a textual button. So let's add here one icon button, and there's like that. And I can add 3 icon buttons. So I can quite easily make this audio control layout where you can skip to the next song, previous song. You can have a playing state, and based on the playing state, it will toggle whether the middle item will be a pause button or play button. So similarly as in the touch area, the mouse area example, you have click signals. Whenever you can tap something, there's this signal called clicked. So I can toggle the playing state. So now when I tap here, you can see that I can switch between pause and a play button. So this is like a simple audio control if you are making a media player. And normal applications are made of hundreds of these elements, and they have this property-based interface. So if you have a label, you define what text it has, and then you define position of that element. But when you start having these like 100 elements, defining it here like in one single place, it becomes quite unwieldy. So for that, we have a concept called pages. So basically, each application is split into multiple pages. So you could have a settings page. If you're an email application, you have inbox view started at the first, and then when you tap an email item, it will open email page which shows the full screen email, which you can read and browse. So the page that gets first loaded is called initial page. It's a container, so now it actually created it, but it doesn't have anything yet. So let's add a Silica list view there. So let's add a vertical list. So that's like the natural reading direction for people is from top to bottom. Whether you read from left to right or right to left, in different cultures, you still read from top to bottom. So vertical stacking is kind of natural to us. So this is maybe the most common view you could have. Let's add 30 items. I could add a real model here, but it's a UI presentation, so I just make these fake items. But the UI side, it doesn't really matter. So I say that I have 30 list items, and they all show a label. I position the label so that it looks nice. Then this is something I don't have time to cover. I just write it here. So the coloring changes based on whether the item is pressed, but just a detail. And I forgot to define the dimensions of the list, so like that. So now I have 30 items here in a list. I could have 30,000 items, and the performance would be same because the Qt Quick has nice property that it only loads the items you can see. So it starts loading items more when you scroll. So I can have like 3 million items here, and if the model engine can handle it, the user interface has no problem. And normally the engine can't handle it, so then list it item has like the buttons, it has the click signal. So the primary action when you have a photo or have a song in a media player, you tap it, the primary action will happen in media player, that the primary action will be playing the song. So you have some function that it does. And then you often, the one action is not enough, so you need to have secondary actions, and for that we have something we call context menu. So you can have additional actions. When you long press an item, you get additional actions. And so if you have a song, you could add it to a playlist, you could delete the song from your device, and so on. These are like item specific actions. Then we have something we call pull down menu. So this is basically what other platforms you would see toolbar. So you would have toolbar at the bottom with different toolbar buttons for global actions. So you are in a phone application and you can switch between call log and between the dialer, and so in any kind of these views we have, you normally can define a pull down menu at the top of the view. So these can have actions too. So you see at the top there's this indicator which indicates that there's something to execute here. So there's these pulley actions. Okay, so now you kind of know how the basic idea is. You define a structure, you position elements, and you define what they are based on this property-based interface. Something that often gets lost when I'm looking at third-party application is the special case handling. So this is the happy path. You have different kind of views to present your content, and you can do actions on that content. But what if there's an error case? If the user hasn't really set up the device yet, they need to sign on to some online account, or they need to go to settings to configure the application properly. That's often the kind of the weakest part in the application. So let's say we have a model that takes like 3 seconds to load. Again, I just make a fake model. So there's a timer that let's pretend it's a model, and it takes 3 seconds for the model to become ready. So you have some data that's on network, and the network happens to be slow, and for some reason it just takes 3 seconds. So it won't be ready until 3 seconds. So what you want to do is you hide the view, which wouldn't show anything sane. So like we did earlier with the image, we hide the view with nice transition until it's ready. Like that. Okay, you can see that this is not optimal. Like there's nothing shown for 3 seconds. So you need to add a busy state. There's multiple different components. The most common is the busy indicator, and the most simple one. So until the view is loaded, we show a large busy indicator and a large info label saying that the view is loading. It's not, the application, it's not stuck, it's not crashing, it's actually doing just fine, it's just slow. Of course, if you can make your application fast. So the fake model is when it's still loading, you want to show the busy indication. And I have a bug. So I forgot to hide the info label. I'm feeling pressure that somebody's finished. Okay. Well, to make things faster, let's make the model ready immediately. So, okay, the second special case that is common is the in-app hinting tutorials. So people don't know how, if they update your application, they don't know that there's a new feature. You need to tell them, especially if it's somewhere in the hierarchy of the application, or that you need to go to settings to enable it. You want to tell them about it. So one component we have is interaction hint label, which is kind of a label that's overlaid on top of the view. So you can say that something like welcome back, and here you can see that by default it's something you would position at the top of the view. You can invert to show it on the top. You can you can describe something. There's also animations. So if you are saying that okay, user here's a sharing button and tap this button to share to Facebook. Did you know that you can share your whatever to Facebook? You would want to show some animation, and we have something called touch interaction hints. We have tap interaction hint, and then we have touch interaction hint is more about these gestures. So I can define a visual animation that, just wait a second, that's saying that pull down to, for example, set up your device or your account like this. And cool. So Joona hasn't said that I'm out of time, so there's still a bit I could show. So you want one of things that most applications have is settings. Settings is also something where the most of the UI controls, the more UI stuff is. So in normal views, you want to get as least amount of UI as possible and as much user content and user text and in the view, and user shouldn't have to worry about the user interface. So, but settings still has a lot of different toggles and switches and sliders and so on. So let's look at that. So let's add a settings page to our application. So I'll here create the settings page. I like positioners, like I said. So I have settings. I stack them vertically. All the views normally should have a page header that says what the page is about. Otherwise, you are lost. So let's say we have settings view, and then the most common settings component is something we call text switch. So you toggle some feature on off, some hardware, radio, Bluetooth, whatever. You toggle them on off. So you have you can define the name, and then you can have an extra description field. So many cases when you have some feature, it's not really self-explanatory having a one or two words, so you can have a couple of lines to describe the word. So now I have here a page header and then a simple switch. And simple switch is often enough, but when your application grows to have more settings, you want to actually group them somehow. So we add section headers where you could have like first section could be about the general settings, and the second section could be about some specific settings to some specific feature of your application. The second, maybe most common, I try to like come up with the most common UI components. So is the combo box. So if text switch is on-off state, the combo box is more like you have multiple choices, like 3 choices. So I can here define that my combo box has like 3 options. Option 1, option 2, option 3, like that. So now when I go to the settings application, I can now switch between different options, like that. And the final one, just for the completeness, is the text editor. So if you need to assign to an account, you need to define name and password. It's quite common. The exact meaning of these different properties you can then check from the Chilica documentation that is on sailfishos.org website. So now I have here a text field for this defining my name. It could as well be password field. It's pretty much the same logic. So now if I start the password field, what is different is that it doesn't show the characters, and I have here a button to show the password before I commit the password. If you have a view where you want to be able to filter out the list items, you can have a search field, which is strangely named password now, but here you could filter out the results, and the API is pretty much the same, but the visual presentation matches our design. Okay, so I went a bit on the basic elements, then how you compose different views, then how do you handle different special cases in your applications, and then pick these settings as one example view you could build. Thank you.